Can a supernatural curse truly be debunked by pure logic? Or does a part of us, always want to believe in the impossible, even when the cold, hard facts are staring us in the face? That's really the electrifying tension at the heart of our deep dive today. We're not just going to summarize Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's absolute classic, The Hound of the Baskervilles. No, instead, we're embarking on a pretty unique exploration of how Doyle, a true master craftsman, built this book using really specific narrative and rhetorical techniques. Think of it like peeling back the layers, yeah, to reveal the genius beneath the mystery. And for this journey, you are experiencing a unique two-host AI conversation powered by Google's NotebookLM for deeper, more dynamic book analysis. We're about to immerse ourselves in a detective story that brilliantly pits, well, scientific rationalism against chilling superstition,
Yeah.
all set amidst the swirling anxieties of Edwardian England. It's this fascinating tug-of-war that Doyle orchestrates right from the start. All right, so to truly appreciate this masterpiece, let's set the stage a bit before we even step onto that desolate moor. Before we hear that legendary howl, tell us, who was Sir Arthur Conan Doyle? What was he bringing to the table when he wrote this?
That's a great place to start. It's fascinating to consider Doyle himself. He was, first and foremost, a trained physician,
Yeah.
and, of course, already a wildly successful author, especially known for Sherlock Holmes by then.
Right, the medical background seems key.
It absolutely is. His scientific training deeply informed his narrative voice.
Yeah.
Let him infuse Holmes's deductive methods with this undeniable air of authenticity, expertise, really, making the detective's logic feel incredibly real and trustworthy to the readers.
Okay.
But here's the really critical piece, I think. Doyle himself had this profound personal fascination with both rationalism and spiritualism. It sounds contradictory, but it's true.
Ah, interesting. That internal conflict.
Exactly, that duality. It created the rich, fertile ground for the book's central tension, that very struggle between logic and the supernatural we're digging into.
That dual interest makes perfect sense, actually. Especially when you think about the time this book came out, 1901, 1902. That wasn't just an arbitrary date, was it? What was the kind of atmosphere like then? Why did the story hit so hard?
You've really hit on something crucial there. The book appeared shortly after Doyle's service in the Boer War, which was, period marked by these profound shifts in scientific understanding. And there was this palpable rise in anxieties about reason versus superstition. People were genuinely trying to reconcile scientific progress with these, well, lingering beliefs in the mystical.
So a real cultural tension.
A huge one. And it's also incredibly significant that Hound marked Holmes's big return, his comeback after his supposed death in The Final Problem. That was a massive event for his fans.
I bet. Must have been huge news.
Oh, definitely. And don't forget its original serialization in the Strand magazine. Publishing it chapter by chapter like that, it allowed Doyle to build suspense masterfully, just hooking his audience with each installment week after week.
So, given that context, Doyle's background, the anxieties of the time, what was Doyle actually trying to do with this story? And who was he mainly writing for? What kind of experience did he want to create for you, the reader?
Well, his main purpose was certainly to entertain, to give people a gripping mystery, right?
Right.
He wanted to deliver that intellectual satisfaction of following Holmes's deductions.
For that existing fan base.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Primarily for that educated, late Victorian and Edwardian British audience who were already devoted Holmes fans. But beyond just pure entertainment, he subtly aimed to dramatize the triumph of logic over superstition.
Okay. Reinforcing trust in science.
Precisely. Reinforcing trust in science and rationality, especially during a time when fascination with the mystical was, well, incredibly strong. He was sort of teaching his readers to question and observe.
Right.
And on a secondary level, the book also subtly explores some very real social anxieties of the time, worries about class structures, inherited wealth, and the sort of fading traditions of rural England facing modernity.
So at its core, the subject is this harrowing investigation of the alleged curse of the Baskervilles, Sir Charles's mysterious death, the threat to Sir Henry. It's a direct challenge, isn't it? Rational detective work versus the seemingly supernatural.
Exactly right. And the tone of the narrative just perfectly captures that intense conflict. It's suspenseful, it's undeniably foreboding, and it's just steeped in this gothic atmosphere.
You feel it right away.
You do. And what's fascinating is how Doyle uses contrasting narrative voices. Holmes' interjections are always, detached and incredibly precise. He's that steady scientific anchor. But Watson's reporting, it's emotional, often filled with this very human anxiety, and sometimes even a touch of credulity. He kind of believes it or wants to.
He speaks for the reader, in a way.
In a way, yes.
Mm.
And this creates this brilliant tension between scientific detachment and genuine gothic horror.
Yep.
Constantly draws you in, keeps you guessing about what's really going on.
Okay, we've talked plot, atmosphere,
Yeah.
but beyond the thrills, how does Doyle actually get us to believe in Holmes, to trust his logic so implicitly? What gives him that credibility?
Yeah, this is where ethos comes in, the credibility, the trustworthiness of the speaker, or in this case, the character. Doyle builds Holmes's ethos, not just by saying he's brilliant, but by meticulously showing his logical rigor.
Right, showing not telling.
Exactly. Showing his expertise in chemistry, in, well, what would maybe call criminal psychology now. He applies this systematic, almost scientific method to every single clue.
Okay.
And like we said, Doyle's own medical background just reinforces the realism of Holmes' methods. You trust Holmes because Doyle has given him such precision, such consistent, verifiable success. He feels authentic, which makes his final rational explanation so deeply satisfying.
But it's not all cold logic, is it? I mean, this book is genuinely spooky. It gets under your skin. How does Doyle manage that? How does he make us feel the fear, make the supernatural threat seem so real before Holmes swoops in?
Oh, absolutely. That's where pathos, the appeal to emotion, becomes incredibly powerful. Doyle is a master of using classic Gothic elements. You've got the desolate, foggy moors,
So atmospheric.
incredibly. Then the terrifying disembodied howls,
Yeah.
the chilling ancient family curses. All of this creates immense suspense. And it directly taps into our, inherent fascination with fear and the unknown, the supernatural.
And Watson helps there, too.
Hugely. That emotional appeal is heightened through Watson's anxious narration. His fear often mirrors the reader's own growing unease. And then there's Sir Henry's very real, very palpable vulnerability. We feel his fear, which just amplifies our own sense of dread. It makes the eventual triumph of logic feel even more earned, more impactful.
It actually quite remarkable how the entire structure, the whole story, really functions as this extended appeal to pure logos, to logical reasoning. It's not just a puzzle for Holmes. It feels like a systematic demonstration of deduction aimed right at us.
Absolutely spot on. The entire narrative, really from the moment Dr. Mortimer lays out the mystery, functions as a systematic appeal to logic. Holmes's observations, his deductions, his final explanations. They meticulously debunk every single supernatural theory presented.
Piece by piece.
Exactly. He systematically replaces them with rational physical clues and, importantly, human motivations. Think about how he reveals the phosphorus used on the Hound to make it glow,
Yeah, the glowing effect.
or how the misleading footprints were carefully orchestrated, and how he finally uncovers Stapleton's intricate plot. Every seemingly inexplicable event is eventually tied back to a logical, human explanation. It demonstrates the ultimate power of rational inquiry over just, unfounded beliefs.
So it's not just Holmes solving a case.
No, it's much more. It's Doyle subtly teaching us, the readers, to trust methodical thinking. He's showing us in real time how to dismantle fear with fact, proving that even the most terrifying mysteries tend to crumble under systematic, logical scrutiny. That was a crucial lesson, really, for an age so fascinated by spiritualism.
Okay, so let's dig a bit deeper into Doyle's actual writing craft. How does he use language itself? Word choice, sentence structure. How does he paint this vivid, terrifying world of the moor and its secrets? How does he draw us into that grim embrace?
Well, his use of diction, his word choice, is quite remarkable. He blends this precise, formal, observational language in the Holmes passages, which perfectly mirrors Holmes's analytical mind, his scientific approach. But then you contrast that with the much more emotive, atmospheric language in Watson's reporting, which really captures the dread and the mystery. This contrast in voice actually pulls you deeper into their distinct perspectives.
And the sentences themselves.
Yeah, the syntax, how he structures sentences, is very much of the period. He often uses these complex sentences, quite descriptive, but then they can snap into terse, rapid-fire dialogue in moments of high tension. It effectively changes the narrative pace, builds suspense.
Like Watson's descriptions versus Holmes's sharp comments.
Exactly. Think of Watson's detailed, almost breathless descriptions of the bog, maybe, followed by Holmes's terse, cutting remarks that just distill the whole situation down to his bare facts. It's very effective.
Okay, expanding our view a bit. The symbolism in this book, it runs incredibly deep, doesn't it? It's not just a literal dog. It feels like it represents so much more. And what are the clever ways Doyle kind of plays with our expectations?
Oh, absolutely. Figurative language, especially metaphor and symbolism, is key to the book's lasting power. The moor itself is just this powerful symbol for mystery, for danger, for the untamed primal forces maybe lurking beneath the surface of civilization.
Right.
The hound, while yeah, it is a physical creature, it symbolizes both Stapleton's cunning artifice, his deception, and also the broader, insidious power of deceit itself. And the curse motif, this seemingly ancient legend, it operates as this extended metaphor for inherited guilt, doesn't it? The heavy weight of the past impacting the present. And Doyle also masterfully employs irony and illusion. The novel is full of dramatic irony where the readers, know something the characters don't.
Because we know Holmes will solve it rationally.
Exactly. Given Holmes's reputation, we anticipate a logical explanation, even while the characters are terrified by seemingly supernatural clues. This creates this fantastic tension between the impossible and the inevitable scientific rationalization.
An illusion.
Yeah, he skillfully alludes or indirectly refers to contemporary beliefs in spiritualism and folk legends, only to then brilliantly undercut them later on, showcasing reason's triumph. It's like he sets up this whole magical premise just to demonstrate how easily it can be dismantled by human ingenuity, or human evil in Stapleton's case.
That's so clever how he messes with our expectations like that. It raises an important question, though. How does the very structure of the story, the way it's put together, enhance the mystery and maybe our own deduction as readers? It's not just a straight line, is it?
No, not at all. The structural strategies are really ingenious. Doyle uses this layering of narratives. You have Dr. Mortimer's ancient manuscript setting the stage.
The legend itself.
Right. Then Watson's anxious letters and his journal entries from the moor. And finally, Holmes' precise analytical summary pulling it all together. This reflects a deliberate layering of evidence, clues, and, misdirection too, making the reader sort through it. Exactly. It makes you, the reader, feel like you're sifting through the evidence right alongside the detectives. This epistolary style, using letters and journals, also allows for different perspectives, different levels of information depending on who's writing.
And the recurring motifs.
Yeah, things like the legend itself, the hound's howl echoing across the moor. They constantly reinforce that central clash between folklore and forensics, between superstition and science. And Doyle uses more subtle techniques too. Juxtaposition, for instance, placing two contrasting elements side by side. It's used masterfully. You get these scenes of terrifying moorland horror.
Like finding Selden's body?
Exactly. And then they're immediately followed by the calm, almost detached logic of Holmes back in his Baker Street rooms, or even on the more analyzing clues, Cooley. This stark contrast powerfully emphasizes the idea of reason conquering superstition.
Right.
And both Holmes and Watson frequently use rhetorical questions when they examine clues. Questions posed for effect, not necessarily needing an immediate answer. This invites you, the listener, the reader, to participate directly in the deductive process. It makes you feel like an active partner in solving the mystery, not just someone watching it unfold.
By dissecting books like this, we hope to inspire reflection and rational thought. For more in-depth analyses and explorations of critical thinking, be sure to check out our Mindful Moments on our YouTube channel. Okay, so having dug into all these intricate details of Doyle's craft, what does this all mean for the book's lasting impact? Did he really achieve what he set out to do with this narrative? And what broader lessons can we maybe take away?
Oh, without a doubt, Doyle succeeds spectacularly in entertaining. It's arguably one of the most suspenseful, most atmospheric entries in the entire Holmes canon. And yes, he powerfully reaffirms the primacy of rational investigation.
But he doesn't totally dismiss the spooky stuff.
That's the clever part. He never entirely eliminates the emotional lure, the pull of the supernatural. The denouement, where Holmes exposes the hound as basically a tool, a trick. It satisfies our need for closure, for a rational explanation, but it also acknowledges the attractive, enduring power of Gothic legend. It's this masterful balancing act, really. It speaks to our dual nature, our desire for truth, and our fascination with mystery.
And beyond that specific purpose, the book just skillfully employs all those genre techniques we love. Characterization Holmes as the detached genius, Watson as our relatable stand-in, Sir Henry as the anxious victim.
Right.
Plus, the narrative perspective shifts and that incredibly evocative setting. The moor as this perfect Gothic backdrop, it all works together to just pull the reader in and evoke really powerful emotions. It makes the idea stick.
Exactly. And this deep immersion helps highlight the central themes, that enduring tension between reason and superstition, the complexities of class and inherited identity, both the literal Baskerville estate and the metaphorical legacy of the past, the curse.
Right, the weight of history.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And ultimately, it's also this profound exploration of the power of observation, the clarity that logic brings, and the essential human capacity to see through deceptive appearances, to see past ingrained fears.
Yeah.
It's really a call to look beyond the obvious and demand proof.
What's fascinating, too, is how the book presents these multiple perspectives. It seems to invite different kinds of engagement from readers, almost like Doyle is speaking to different parts of our own minds.
He absolutely is doing that. Watson's occasional credulity, maybe his willingness to believe the curse, and Holmes's unwavering skepticism, they cater to both sides of the audience. Those who might readily indulge supernatural explanations and those who demand pure rationality. Doyle also highlights that stark contrast between the local community's deep-seated superstition, born of isolation and tradition perhaps, and the scientific rationalism of Holmes and his London circle.
City versus country, almost.
In a way, yeah. He subtly presents rural England, the moor, as this site where the irrational persists, mirroring broader cultural anxieties at the time about modernity, about tradition, in a rapidly changing world. It's like a snapshot of a society grappling with its own beliefs.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, the Holmesian method itself, that precise logical process of inquiry, it becomes more than just a story device, doesn't it? It feels like a timeless model for critical thinking, something useful far beyond just solving fictional crimes.
It absolutely does.
Yeah.
Doyle's layering of narrative voices, his clever manipulation of genre conventions, his deep engagement with those contemporary debates about science and superstition. It all contributes to the book's complexity and its remarkable durability, why we still read it. The Holmesian method, really, at its heart, is presented as a model of critical inquiry. It's all about posing incisive questions, diligently gathering evidence, and crucially, steadfastly resisting easy assumptions, especially supernatural ones.
Resisting the easy answer.
Exactly. It teaches us to look beyond the obvious, to question what we see and hear, and to apply rigorous logic even to the most perplexing, maybe frightening situations. It's almost like a blueprint for navigating ambiguity in our own lives, not just on Dartmoor.
So, synthesizing our deep dive today, it just seems incredibly clear that Doyle's meticulous rhetorical choices were absolutely central. They created both the intellectual satisfaction and the profound emotional power of the Hound of the Baskervilles. It's a story that still grips us, I think, because of how skillfully it plays on our deepest fears and, at the same time, our fundamental faith in logic. Which leaves us with a thought for you. In a world still grappling with complex realities and, let's face it, some very enticing myths, how might the Holmesian method, that process of questioning, observing, deducing, help you navigate the mysteries, big or small, of your own life? Something to mull over. For more in-depth analyses like this and to continue exploring critical thinking, remember to check out our Mindful Moments on our YouTube channel, and do explore on our other podcasts as well. Click the link on screen for the in-depth book summary if you want a refresher. Please subscribe, share this deep dive with fellow learners, and maybe consider purchasing the book via the provided link to experience this absolute classic for yourself. And most importantly, always think critically.